let me start out. First, just as last time, I kind of let you in on a secret as far as my hairstyle at the time was using number 6 blade. Well, this time, just to continue from there, New York relaxed the rules a bit, and I finally got to visit a barber and had my first professional haircut in 6 months, along with a shave. So I have to tell you, what a tremendous feeling. I've never thought I'd feel so good just getting a haircut. So with that, I hope everyone is staying safe and starting to get out a little more. So now I'll just spend a few minutes on why security is so critical, kind of a few considerations for banks and cryptocurrency. And then we'll go back to Antonia. I think things might have been corrected, and then we'll go back to her part, and then we'll answer questions. So we'll just go a drop out of order from here. Okay, so just to start, let me just put the market in perspective so you get an idea of where we are. Currently, there are in custody right now for crypto assets, there's probably, give or take, around $50 billion, depending on what you listen to. To put that in perspective, that's only half of a Bill Gates. If you look at all of assets in custody, there are $155 trillion worth of assets in custody, which is over 1,500 Bill Gates. I don't know if that says more about the assets in custody or more about Bill Gates, but it does give it some perspective. For the average person, it's more about 1.5 billion times the amount of what people have in value. But the real question behind that, just to put that in perspective, literally going from 50 billion to 155 trillion, is how much will move, how much of that will start moving to digital assets and when? And honestly, who really knows? But if recent activities and the rulings such as OCC start to accelerate the movement, we're in for a massive change in the financial industry. So let me start out, for those new to the field, just to give you some background in an area of security called cryptography. Briefly, don't get scared if math was not your favorite subject. Everything you need to know about cryptography is on this slide. And literally in under a minute, you'll be able to have a comfortable conversation, even if you're in a room full of MIT PhDs in applied math. So first, a digital asset is essentially just some information about an asset and who owns it. So you need to protect the information and sign it. And in more technical terms, you need to encrypt it so no one can modify it. And you digitally sign it so no one else can claim it's theirs. And encryption and signing is really just about 2 keys. You have a private key and a public key. And you only have your private key. There's only one copy. And everyone else gets a copy of the public key. So when a bank mathematically signs a digital asset, it is their unique signature. And anyone who has a public key can read the signature and will know it's the bank's. So you can imagine that protecting that private key and protecting how and where it is used is absolutely critical. And that bank's private key is essentially equivalent to their money. So now imagine you have $100. You kind of keep it in your pocket so you could use it easily. Or imagine you have $1,000. You may want to keep that in a safer place. Perhaps you have a safe at home, or you give half of it to your spouse to hold on to reduce the risk of losing it. Personal recommendation, go with the safe, or you might find you have a pair of shoes or a new TV instead of $500, but I digress. So how does a digital asset custodian work? So first definition, a hot wallet there's 2 terms, hot and cold wallet. The hot wallet is essentially a secure cryptocurrency wallet, and it's connected to the internet. A cold wallet refers to cryptocurrency wallet that is not connected to the internet. And generally, a cold wallet is more secure, and you usually keep higher values in there, and you use the hot wallet for smaller day-to-day transactions. But it's not necessarily more secure. It kind of depends on the approach, which is critical. And there are very broad degrees of security and effectiveness in cold wallets, as well as hot wallets. So let's look at the cold wallet security risk and some considerations. So one, as I said, a cold wallet may seem more secure. Storing keys or parts of keys offline may always be as safe as it seems. Think of the Iranian nuclear reactor. One properly placed USB exposed and corrupted the entire offline plant. So consideration one is keys must be stored safely. Two, also by moving keys or parts of keys to anything to software at any point exposes it, especially if you're using any kind of third-party software that's involved. So second consideration is keys really must be used in a safe, protected environment, not just be stored, but used in a safe, protected environment. And a third consideration, it's not just the key that needs protection. The process needs to be secure too. And I'll give you an example. There was a German bank and they used artificial intelligence to simulate the CEO's voice. Somebody called up, simulated it, and got approved for a very large funds transfer by just simulating the voice. Phishing attacks through emails is very common. I mean, just literally last week, a friend of mine had a fake email account from a partner and requesting funds to be transferred to a different bank account. Literally at the last minute, they stopped the transfer because somebody accidentally had a question about the account. So the third consideration is you must implement a very secure channel, that authenticated channel between all those who are involved in the process, whether it's the approver, the requester, and the actual transaction itself. And lastly, consider not only the security, but also security often is considered not as convenient, but it really needs to consider the impact, the business impact on it. So security can sometimes be inefficient, even inhibit the business, but typically, in the cold wallet, you might have, a lot of companies protect their keys kind of almost with paper and vaults, or they use less secure technology. And they might split the key in multiple parts. They'll put it in different physical vaults in different geographies. And then when they want to use it, they have to get together, put the key together, get it onto a computer, and it can take hours or even days to sign high-value transactions. So not only are you limiting the transaction volumes, but even think of all the exposures anyway that we saw in the previous slide, you still have all those potential exposures anyway, and it might not be as safe as you think. So interesting, these limitations became even more evident during the pandemic because there were very high value custodian accounts that were extremely limited in high value transfers because they required physical presence to gather keys or split keys, whether they were on paper or sealed in a vault offline. So now, you bring them together, and then you had to bring them together and sign off. And of course, physical presence, I mean, it still often remains a challenge to have physical presence. So having a convenient and remote process, as well as a secure process is actually critical to the business as well to be able to effectively transact the business. Okay, and I'll leave you with one more thought. Most banks also think about the future, and that's kind of where technically something called quantum ready comes in. I'll just leave you with that thought because that's actually a topic for another time. Thank you, and I told you I'd keep my part brief, and the main part is I'm hoping, Antonia, if things are working for you at this stage, I'll hand it off to you.